What's up, my name is Jordan Mitchell, and I am in the process of building an empire. Basically, I wanted to update this because I think it would be super cool if you could go back and watch a daily vlog of Jeff Bezos as he was building Amazon, or Kanye West as he was producing beats in New York, starting his career. Right now, my focus is on YouTube. The goal at the top of my mind is to post 36 YouTube videos in the third quarter of 2022. And there's a couple reasons this goal is at the top of my mind. One is in grade 8, I moved to Canada and then fell in love with YouTube and always kind of had it in the back of my mind. And within that, the reason I have my goal at output and posting a certain number of videos is for two reasons. One, I've had this hypothesis for a long time that quantity leads to quality. And so by forcing myself to make 36 videos in 3 months, or about 3 videos per week, which is more than I've ever made, it's forcing me to get better and get faster at writing scripts, editing videos, being comfortable on camera, and just being more comfortable in putting stuff out into the world. And then the second reason here is kind of just a mental challenge of proving to myself that I can stick with the goal for 3 months. I've done that in the past with projects that I collaborated on with other people, but I wanted to prove to myself that I could have the self-discipline to double down and bet on myself. Cool. And so with all this being said, at the end of this 3 months, or in a month from now, I have 2 things that I'm gonna evaluate. The first is, did I actually enjoy this? Is this something I wanna try and take more seriously and do in the future? Or should I go more of the business route? So going back to freelance videography, for example, and trying to double down on the traditional selling services to other businesses route of things. Yeah, so that's decision number 1. If the decision there is I do want to continue YouTube, then I want to decide what to focus on. Because right now my goal is just post a ton, try a ton of different video formats, a ton of topics, basically just make videos on whatever I want to make videos about. But at the end of this month, if I do decide to focus on it, I want to do another 3-month goal, but have it be more deliberate and more focused. So for example, I'm making video essays about the ethics of modern technology. Just very clear, very deliberate, and then giving a 3-month effort at trying to grow. So not just an output. Right now, I don't give a fuck how many viewers I get. My goal is to just make videos. My next 3-month sprint, I would want to try and validate if I could actually get traction and get people to care. So as for what to focus on in that case, the first is treating YouTube like a art form. So here inspirations would be people like Steezy Kane, Nathaniel Drew, Sneeko, and topics that explore the human condition, I guess. So this would be mostly introspective or telling stories about my own life. And then the second kind of option I see is more educational. So picking a focus like sustainable fashion, for example, then having podcasts with sustainable fashion designers, or showcases of different companies, or talking in detail about different materials and whatnot. So this would be people like Bliss Foster, Ali Abdaal, Alex Hormozi, who all have their respective niches. Bliss Foster is educational within the fashion niche, Ali Abdaal within the productivity niche, Alex Hormozi within the business niche. For me, I'd probably focus on Web3 or sustainable fashion or philosophy. The third option I see in terms of high-level way to approach YouTube, treating it to support a business, I could use YouTube as a inbound marketing approach. Or I guess another option here would be to be an information-based YouTube business. So within sustainable fashion, for example, I could have YouTube videos be the outer ring of my business, and then I could have a Patreon where you could get exclusive interviews with people at different stages of the fashion industry, like manufacturers or designers or customers. And then the final section would be data products, reports on sustainable fashion and how to improve your manufacturing processes, or as a designer, where to source sustainable materials. There could be these different layers. So yeah, I'm not sure. Those are a lot of different options, but I'm not trying to make that decision yet. And I think there can be overlap between all of those things, but I'd like to try and have just one focus and go at it for 3 months to see if I can build traction. But yeah, that decision is not something I'm spending too much time on yet. What I am focusing on is just my output, the 36 videos in these 3 months. This is kind of a niche meta play edit because this will be one of the 36 videos. But something I've been doing here to track my progress in this goal is I have a spreadsheet, two spreadsheets. And so my inspiration for this is twofold. For one, I work at a startup, and every week we have a traction meeting where we go through certain key metrics and people talk about what they've been working on, like what their focus is at this week. And so I have a weekly tracker that you can see here where I track new videos posted this week, videos I edited, recorded, finished, and ideas that I had, like new video ideas. And then I track like the performance analytics as well. I don't really care too much about these right now, but like views, watch time, view duration, subscribers, click-through rate, returning viewers, unique viewers. And the reason this is helpful is without a spreadsheet, it's easy to lie to yourself. Last night I did my last weekly review because it was Sunday. So I posted 2 videos, edited 2, recorded 3, and had 7 video ideas. So I probably could have told you that without the spreadsheet, at least the most important number. Like I could have told you that I posted 2 videos, but having this weekly check-in forces you to be accountable to yourself and think about it. And for proof, there's a 2-week stretch where I didn't post any videos, and those 2 weeks I didn't do the weekly check-in because I was like avoiding it. Because I was avoiding it, I didn't want to face the reality, like look at the numbers. And the second inspiration for this comes from this guy called Bronx, Father Bronx, has a really good podcast and Instagram for the artists out there. He worked with The Weeknd before he blew up, was like a super famous photographer in New York for a while, had a record deal for his music, like super prolific creative guy with a lot of experience in the creative industry. And he actually suggested this of like be scientific in your art, which seems counterintuitive, but like it can help you keep track of things and hold yourself accountable and whatnot. So what I've started to do just this week is a daily spreadsheet as well, where I track wake up time, how many hours I slept, what I'm gonna do that day, what I actually did, and then the result of what I did, something I learned that day, what my mood is, like how I feel, something I'm grateful for, and then at like what time I go to sleep. The column that I'm most excited to keep up over time is this what did I learn column, because I feel like there's a ton of lessons in life that you force yourself to learn more times than necessary. And so like having this documented, I can look at like scrolling through Instagram and YouTube today made it harder to focus when I did get to work, which is like an obvious thing everybody could tell you. But here I've like written it down and I can look back and be like, oh yeah, I remember that day and it was hard for me to focus. Like if you want to focus, then you should not spend a lot of time scrolling through Instagram and YouTube. Like it's obvious, but having that documented I think will be helpful. Oh, and then I think the last thing that could be interesting is what are my influences right now? Like what am I consuming? I'm going through an online course by Nathaniel Drew and Johnny Harris on storytelling, visual storytelling, because I want to improve that skill of mine, of like the art side of YouTube and like the storytelling side of things, making things intriguing, getting your point across. Another interesting focus for me has been watching debates on YouTube between Sneeko and Destiny in particular. I used to watch Destiny a lot. Around 2 years ago, like around the last election, I was super interested in learning more about political stuff and debates. Then I kind of fell away from him and I've been watching him more recently in his debates with like Destiny and Fresh and Fit, which are more on the philosophical, how you should live your life side of things, which I think has been really interesting. And that's a path that I want to go down, potentially go down in the future. I think streaming would be really cool, and debating. But yeah, that's not the it's not the time for that yet, but eventually it would be cool. The last 2 big influences are in like the self-help education space, I guess. So Alex Hormozi for the business side of things and Bronx for the art side of things are, it's funny because they kind of say the same thing but are pulling me in different directions, like Bronx for the art side and Alex in the business side, which aren't necessarily mutually exclusive, but their approaches are very different. Like Hormozi's like a through and through, like build a business, sell stuff to customers, have a marketing plan, whatever. And Bronx is more of like build your career as an artist. Anyways, both really good creators, I recommend. Last thing I want to talk about, I know I keep saying last thing. So I talked about like the kind of 3 different ways to approach YouTube as like an art form, as like an education thing, or as a business thing. And again, those 3 things merge together, but which main focus to have. The 4th kind of meta section is stuff like this and documenting my journey along the way. And regardless of what I choose, I want to keep doing that because I want to have the evidence where you can see what I was thinking about in like 20 years and 30 years when I've made a big impact. With that being said, I don't know what I'm gonna name this series of content, but you can watch a playlist here. Oh my gosh, one last thing. Okay, I'll do like a check-in next week where I'll talk about this, about my whole traveling thing. But I'm in Morocco. Yeah, I'll talk about that next check-in.